Dolls have been with man since the dawn of time. They can project our feelings, our emotions.
Dolls are kind of a universally understood medium. When you're talking about the history of dolls, you're actually talking about the history of the world.
Some of the earliest dolls discovered were in Egypt, and they were found in tombs, and it was shaped almost like a ping pong paddle. In ancient Greece, we see the first articulated dolls.
There's creche dolls, which are, religious icons.
In Native American culture, we had the husk doll.
Also going on in Asia, there's a long history of dolls with porcelain. Up until the age of porcelain, dolls were made out of wax. They were carved out of wood with gesso. Porcelain really changed the game, and Germany became one of the capitals of doll making in the world. There were doll salons that were held annually in Paris where the top doll makers would bring their dolls.
There's an innate human need to replicate itself, to understand who we are. Maybe in miniature we can see another perspective of our identity, of our aspirations, of our fantasies.
Antique doll collecting got really big in the 1950s. You had a lot of people going after Civil War China dolls or porcelain dolls. The antique doll collecting world kind of was the first beginnings of doll collecting as a hobby and a community.
They moved into the industrial space eventually, and the industrial space sort of changed the game. We started to see mass production. So when materials became more available, we had dolls go from porcelain, so the hand artistry, we shifted to rubber dolls. Now the rubber dolls became the baby dolls that we've seen in the 50s.
Before then, dolls were adult or fashion-oriented. The Shirley Temple doll kind of represents, the culmination of the baby doll. The girl that broke that cycle was Barbie. Before she was Barbie, she was Build Lily. It was a, kind of party object that you would bring to bachelor parties and, buy as a gag gift for your dude friend. A woman from America swooped in, bought all the molds, bought all the rights, and then created Barbie. Through the 90s, the doll collecting world just grew and grew. There were conventions all over the world, tons of doll magazines and groups and trade shows and publications, a lot of thriving adult collectible doll companies. Cabbage Patch Kid kind of came in. The replacement of that was the American Girl doll. And then, from there, who shakes it up? The Bratz. The Bratz girls come in and they're a posse, they're multi-ethnic, they're cool, hip, and fashionable, and cartoony. And that brings us to where we are today. Now, I think we're kind of, at the beginning of a newer era for the hobby.
Modern collecting becomes about customization. We still had this need and this desire to represent ourselves, represent our aspirations, help us make sense of the world.
The ball-jointed doll as a medium has exploded in the last, 10 years. Japan ended up employing a lot of older Western techniques of stringing dolls together and creating them in resin, which is a little more durable than porcelain. And that's kind of created what's known as the ABJD, which is the Asian ball-jointed doll. It's also kind of cool to see the way that dolls cycle and come back to life. Blythe doll was created by Kenner in the 1960s. And, she was a flop. But she had a couple good commercials, which must have stuck in these kids' minds and created this whole movement of a Blythe doll collector. And then from there, people are making other dolls that fit in the scale, that fit in the world, that have the same aesthetics as a Blythe doll. Doll collecting now is really like the Wild West. It's moving back into this artistic realm. As long as humans are alive, we will want to see ourselves replicated in miniature.
We do want to explore somewhere else. We want to explore our minds. We want to explore our hearts. And dolls can continue to do that for us.